After Xabi Alonso moved to Real Madrid this summer, the club has lost many key players, including Wirtz and Frimpong. In this career mode, we're going to try and rebuild Leverkusen using Ten Hag. Ten Hag's definitely had a rough few years at United. He had a lot of potential when he's at Ajax, but it just seemed like after a few rush transfers, bringing in players like Anthony, he really needs to respond and bring in some exciting young players, because I think that's something he was always known for being good at, is developing young players. Adley might be one of those players that in his career mode I think we can develop. Looking at the transfer targets, knowing that there'll be some quite big outgoings, I thought it would make sense for Ten Hag to look at some of his past clubs. Of course, in real life, they have brought in Gerald Kwanzaa. I think he's quite talented. I do think they paid a little bit too much for him, but I think a player they could also sign is Petrovic. In real life, he has gone to Bournemouth, but for the sake of his career, we will ignore that. Madrid did approach for Tapsoba, but we thought we'll reject for now. And for Bakayoko, although he has gone to Leipzig, I think he'd be a really good, suitable player for Leverkusen if they did sort of revert to a sort of three up front formation. I did look at a number of right backs they could bring in, and it did seem to make the most sense to go for maybe Vanderson out of them. And then beyond that, we wanted a little bit of depth, someone that could sort of break into the team. So Adrielson looked quite good. Victor Boniface, although Chelsea have already signed two strikers, you could see them signing a third. We did bring Aldrason in, love the tuck shirt in, amazing feature there. And yeah, just a few of the bits and bobs. Kasunu left. I think he's left in real life, I believe. Hidaki's left. Hincapi being linked to Atletico Madrid, so it kind of made sense selling him. Otherwise, we just loaned a lot of players out, and we just brought in a lot of potential talent that we think could sort of break into the first team eventually, including Ord, who's from MLS. By the end of the summer, we'd brought in a lot of players. As I said, Vanderson was tied up, and if you're looking at sort of the profits, it was immense. And I think a club like this, we really need to just buy as many young players as we can, develop them and sell them on. Starting the season, Patrick Schick, I think he's a good player, could move on to a big team as well. Tidy finish there, didn't really have to do too much, and that was enough to win the game to open our season. We faced a much stronger team in Werder Bremen in Frankfurt, and Chaibi opened the scoring. I do feel like defending is something that Ten Hag has never really coped with that well. At United, he was renowned for sort of ignoring defending and just going for attacking, but in the end not really being even that good at attacking. But I think at Leverkusen, it's a league that you can sort of set the ship straight with that. Bundesliga, the defenders aren't as good, so he can attack, and I think he can take a few more liberties up front where he can sort of have his fullbacks pushing quite high. I don't think the fans will be too upset because they have been used to Xabi Alonso sort of having those games where he just keeps scoring and outscoring teams, which is what we seem to do today. Schick, again, just seemed to always be there for a tidy finish, didn't have to do too much work, but Frankfurt just kept pulling it back as well. I believe that's Choto Akambe, player we've used in an old career mode, and a very quick finish there. Not actually sure, I don't think that's Ekatike, but whoever that was, really good finish then, just not much we could have done. But last shot of the game, basically, Bakayoko, star signing, came in and just managed to find the ball when it was open and play away. I think we did roll to hang on to Grimaldo and Palacios, but in the end, even quality like that isn't enough when you're playing a team like Bayern Munich. They just have too much depth, and they're just a team that are very relentless. In that they'll just keep the ball. They've got players all over the pitch and keep the ball, including Elise, really good goal there, and Harry Kane. And luckily, Schick managed to get a goal back, but it just wasn't enough in the end as we lost 2-1. As you can see, not too bad of a performance, quite equal. And going over to Pakal, in the end it was the winning penalty for our main man. I think it was Buwadi that scored, so good to see from him to develop. And heading over to Leipzig, we put Hoffman in, senior player, definitely dwindling in his ability, but he can always do a job when he's sort of asked to. Quite a creative player as well. Of course Leipzig, even though they've lost many talents themselves, they seem to have brought Lookman in, which is probably quite a good signing for them. I don't know if I'm crazy, but I do feel like he was at Leipzig at some point in his career already. Really good finish from Bakayoko here. with his weak foot as well, good volley into top bins, and Elmas, another great player. You can see, I think, Simmons here played a really nice ball in and a really tidy, quick finish there. And they seemed to pile on from that pressure. I think they got the momentum as soon as they'd scored that goal. And yeah, again, it's just quite simple in Bundesliga. It felt like you can just pass around the keeper almost. Checking our progress at the halfway point of the season, we sat in 7th, which wasn't ideal. And in the Champions League, it was looking even worse as we were in 21st, with threatening to sort of not qualify for the knockout round. In terms of goals and assists, wasn't too impressive either. Garcia did quite well, but none of our players seemed to be standing out against other Bundesliga teams. We did decide to switch our formation a little bit, and with that managed to get a draw against Sporting, which wasn't too bad considering we didn't at least lose the game. After qualifying, we headed into the PSV playoff game, which unfortunately we did lose, and even worse, it was just one penalty that was the difference. Heading back to the Bundesliga, our priority was really to qualify for Champions League again, and goals like this would be the sort of thing that would get us over the line. I'd say from the amount of time I've used him, Patrick Schick doesn't seem like an unreal player to play with in FIFA, but he is quite good at one thing, and that's just finishing easy chances and just doing what he needs to do. I think Bakayoko is someone that I've been more impressed with. He's very fast, and I mean, like you can see that you can sort of just beat any man, and he's got a good finish as well, which isn't always that common to see with wingers. Yeah, looking at the goals here, it's a really good finish from their player. I do like this camera sometimes, but sometimes it does just take too long to show the goal. Either way, we did have enough at the end, getting us another win, and heading over to the final for the Pokal tournament, up against Borussia. Obviously not an easy team, but I think as Leverkusen we are a team that can beat a team like that on our day. Adley had a good shot there, but it's going both ways. I can't remember the name of, I think it was like a Mexican regen that Borussia had, something like Lainez or something. He just seemed really good and just way better than the actual like real players in their side. Towards the end of the game, we sort of just hoofed it up, just sort of seeing where can we go with the ball. And luckily the ball actually managed to stay in the pitch. And some sort of patient passing gave us a chance, and Bakayoko put that away. And last minute of the game, it was Terrier just to sort of seal that up. Bakayoko again just to drive with the ball, a tidy finish there. So surely man of the match for Bakayoko there, as he's really dropped a world-class performance, and that's I believe our second or sort of our first proper trophy, I'd say, not including sort of your Community Shield equivalents. But yeah, quite impressive performance. I think we want to be there in these finals every year, and the fact we've won a trophy already shows that we can push on for more. I think especially when it comes to keeping good players as well, you need silverware. You need to show that you are sort of heading somewhere, and I think if we don't win and continue to sort of compete, then we're going to lose some big players like Grimaldo, Xhaka, etc. Checking back through Champions League, yeah, again, obviously we did exit quite early again, so hopefully that is something that we can improve on going forward. Checking top goals, just looking at any players that could potentially be a good signing. Still is obviously a really great player. Not sure it'd be realistic for us to go for him, considering that Stuttgart are a good team. Schick and Teller had a surprisingly good season, considering I don't think he was often sort of the game changer in our squad. And heading into the next season, we did have an issue where there was quite a lot of expiring contracts, so we did have to think about who can we bring in to sort of change things. I know he has gone to Milan in real life, but recorded this quite a while ago, and I think Jashari is a great player. Ito as well, I must say he's probably my favourite defender I've ever used in FIFA. He's just his rating does not reflect how good he is in the game. So I thought I just needed someone reliable and decided to bring him in. And yeah, made a lot of sales and a lot of loans as well to match with that. So yeah, heading into our sort of Community Shield, can't remember the name of it, equivalent, did not start very well. Good chance of Musiala there, and Andresen just could not handle that turn. And quickly it became 2, and I think we just knew we were in trouble. Even though we do have like a decent defending side, we're not, like competitive when Xabi Alonso was there. It just felt like we're going to outscore every team. I don't think our defence is that woeful, but today we just looked atrocious. It just seemed like none of the defenders could stop anything, even if they were actually trying to and sort of were staying on their man. Bayern's players just seemed like they were moving at a different pace to us. And in the end, it was just getting more and more embarrassing, as I think it was 6-1 in the end. And some of the goals, I think it was this one, you just sort of think, like, what can you do about that? It's just such a quick touch and you just put it away already. It's actually interesting that they did sign Diaz in this, because again, I did record this a while ago, so this is way before the transfer actually happened. Heading over back to the Bundesliga, Bakayoko straight away on the threat. Good to see that he's still someone we can rely on. But yeah, Adley had a good finish there. It's good to see that our wingers, they are players that can sort of chip in with a header or sort of like a easy goal here and there. Not saying that these were one of them, but I think it is rare sometimes to see that your wingers are actually going to score goals for you, and not just sort of pass and contribute to the striker. Especially because sometimes in FIFA it can just feel like you've just got pacey wingers that are just charging and they're just side passing it to the striker. But I think with this Leverkusen side, they can do a bit more than that. I think it's Hoffenheim, this team, or I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, not too bad. But I think we were just too much to handle. I think we were a team that, from the get-go, although we had that awful loss against Bayern, we did look like we could actually sort of achieve something this summer and in this season. And as you can see, first place in the Bundesliga, 13 games in. Probably too early to get too excited about things. Looking at the Champions League as well, again, first place, it's hard not to sort of get a bit hopeful and optimistic about that. But we have seen, a lot of Bundesliga teams have a huge healthy lead and sort of bottle that. But I would say personally, Morata was a lot to credit for that. Just bringing him in, seeing that Schick had left for a lot of money. I think that Morata on a loan basis was a great transfer to bring in. By the way, up against Club Brugge, quite a decent side. Looking back for a few, I think it was last season when Chibi, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but quite an interesting game in real life that they had against, can't remember what side it was, maybe like Borussia or something. Yeah, I think we had a sort of score to settle and we wanted to sort of show that we are a team that can sort of push on to the later stages. And I think Morata proved that there. Just looking at the goal, yeah, I think it was Teller just drove with it, and yeah, really tidy finish there. Højlund seems to have gone to Club Brugge in this save. Not sure he's that bad of a player that he'd end up at a side like this, but I mean, having said that, they're not, from playing them in this episode, I think they're not particularly weak of a team, so maybe in this save they do become a much better team, so maybe it does suit him. Bit of a cheeky finish there, and yeah, Højlund, that was insane. I don't know how he did that. It's not always been the fastest sort of footed player that I've come across in real life, but I guess that's what he does now. Things took a turn for the worse, as yeah, again in this playoff round, we just Solis, I think his name is, ex-Norwich player, yeah, just managed to put away a tidy finish, and there's just not really much you can do about that. Adrilson sort of sealed our fate there. I think the Højlund was really straight through, and I just knew how to take him out. Was a bit worried actually that they'd end up scoring, but yeah, luckily didn't concede, but it's too late to do anything about it. So again, we were out of the Champions League. End of the season, we came second, so yeah, not I guess going backwards, but it does feel like, when time is a precious thing, you do want to move forwards and get stronger. So I think the fact that we lost players but stayed as strong was good, but it just doesn't feel like we were improving. Looking at Morata, his rating had decreased, so I didn't think he was really going to be suitable to get on a sort of long-term basis. So in sort of recognition of that, although I said Stuttgart are a team that would be hard to buy from, Walt's mad, great player for I think it was the youth sort of like Euros competition this summer. He looked really great in that, and I thought, look, if Ten Hag's going to do it his way, he's going to have to bring in some former United players, of course. He is known for signing ex-players, especially when he was at United. And I think Garnacho is someone that he does have some issues personally, like in terms of like his maybe work ethic or maybe his off-the-field antics, but he is a player that he's incredibly good at football. on his day. And I think when you bring in Waldmade, Bissek, like some really young talents to play alongside him, I think they can make a really strong team. I would like to say I made this video, I think over 2 months ago. Like I recorded this and I signed Tillman then, and believe it or not, Tillman is obviously signed now for Leverkusen. But I'm just gonna say I called that completely. I called that like months in advance. So yeah, drop a like for that. Unreal. So yeah, back in the playoff or whatever you call it. I can't remember the name for this actual tournament where the league winner plays the whatever it's like the Shield we'll call it. Yeah, went to penalties and probably a good chance here to show that we can sort of beat any team on penalties, because considering that we don't seem to be that good at actually winning in these knockout ties in the Champions League, it could be something that we might have to rely on. Good penalty for him. I think it was Jashari there. And Petrovic, I want to say I have heard he's quite good at penalties, so yeah, I think that was Elena's, the Mexican kid that I was saying was quite good for Borussia. And this is Maza, I believe. Yeah, really good, tidy finish there, and that was enough. 4 pens all in, and we picked up another trophy. Palacios had become our captain as Xhaka did exit the club. And I think he is someone that could be a really elite player, so I'm glad that by giving him the armband, getting an extension on him, I think we were able to sort of convince him to stay, hopefully. First game of the season, can't remember the name of the team, but we were playing someone that wasn't particularly good. And I think that just shows, because Garnacho, I've never seen him in my life score a header, so I think the fact he managed to do that was very telling. But yeah, the link-up play was looking unreal, I think even better than last year. So yeah, I think, with players like Jashari as well, and just such a young team of players, is something that I think Ten Hag would thrive on. And yeah, really tidy finish there. And even Waldmad managed to get his sort of contribution. He played really well with sort of like the one-touch play. But yeah, that was such a quick sort of turn and finish there. It just did feel like, especially with the smaller teams, we would be someone that, especially when with the options of bringing in, say, like Terrier, Teller, other players that are sort of on the bench but really good, I didn't see how we could sort of drop those easy points very easily this year. But I guess the main thing's always, can we beat the good teams? Just did want to point out that Jackson got sold to Arsenal. I think that's a very realistic transfer, considering that Chelsea seems to just give all their rejects to Arsenal these days. Yeah, again, looking at transfers, we did just loan out a lot of players again, just focusing on developing them. Whether we keep them or not, can just sort of decide later. I did actually say we sold Xhaka, I think not at this point actually. That was my mistake, but yeah, glad he sort of showed he's still about with that worldy of a goal there. Tillman, I think in play or in game, I just struggle to use him sometimes. I think he's quite a big sort of build for sort of like a cam, I guess. But in this game, he did seem to look really good. He just had that strength that could sort of throw off any defender that he came across. And yeah, I think him having a good game was needed today more than any sort of game, considering that we were up against Club Brugge, who I think in this career mode specifically seems to be like our El Clasico of the Europe sort of stage. Obviously, they did sort of take the season from us last time, and especially in such a surprising way, where I thought we were going to win, and it just seemed to suddenly Zola scored that goal and it just fell away from us. So yeah, 2 quick goals, but yeah, suddenly they did manage to show that they were a team that could actually do all again. Yeah, Hoyland was just moving like prime R9 in this game. I don't know what was going on in this save, but yeah, need to use something about him. I don't have a clue what was going on there, but I just thought it was an amazing tackle from Bakayoko. Just when it was looking a bit in doubt, 70th minute, it was Malik Tillman again coming in with the goods. I think he's someone that, I can't remember how much you actually paid for him in real life, but he's obviously done very well for PSV in the past, and I think he's someone that, if Leverkusen sort of do change their system and go to more of like a 4 at the back and have those traditional sort of cams coming in, he could be a really great player, who they obviously could sell on for much more money in the future. Unfortunately lost the footage, but we did go out to Liverpool in the quarters, and going up to the final sort of game of the season, we had lost to Bayern already. That did mean that we were out of the sort of the contention for the league, unfortunately, and I think considering that the board we're looking to strengthen and improve the team. Ten Hag definitely had made Leverkusen worse during his tenure, but I think this game was feeling like a bit of a pivotal moment where if we couldn't win against Leipzig, and we couldn't sort of beat the good teams that we seem to struggle to beat so often, um, maybe we weren't really going to sort of like continue with Ten Hag at the helm. Did bring the youth player in, give him some minutes. Was playing as quite a good left back actually, considering how young he is. But in the end, unfortunately, it was 3-1 and just wasn't quite enough. And although, at the end we had made money, we had achieved the target of growing the club in some sense. I do think that Ten Hag wouldn't be suitable to continue from that stage. And just like he had done at United, I think at this stage he would have been sacked. So that ends the career mode here. Hope you enjoyed, but I'm coming through with a more long-term series that I think you'll find really exciting and got some more sort of realistic transfers and exciting things going on.